This card is a Valentine's card and I call it Shower of Hearts. Here it is. This is based on an M-fold tutorial 19. This is how the M-fold goes. It's basically an acute V-fold with acute V-folds built into the gullies, but all made in one. So this is tutorial 19, and then in actual fact it has counterfolds added to it, added into all the creases. That's tutorial 22. So here's an M-fold with added cuts and creases, giving you these counterfolds that give you more planes that can all be extended like this. You'll see that all the little different planes have got these arms stuck onto them with hearts then stuck on the end. So I'll just show you how to make one of those really quickly. Here's a base sheet, folded in half, creased really thoroughly. This will be the M fold. So again, we just fold it in half. We cut a wedge out of the, up to about a third of the way up, something like that. Fold the two sides back, like this. So we've got the two angles. When you open it up, the angles on each side below that point, they're both the same. And then you just take one side, fold it up. Now this crease must be leaning out away from the spine. It mustn't come to the same point where all the other creases meet. So you just have it folding up, something like this. Fold that back on itself. And then on the other side, it doesn't have to be the same. We can just fold it up. And again, we crease it, leaning out away from the middle fold. So fold that back on itself, and now we can concertina this. So these folds come forward, bit tricky, there we are, and then fold that back, and then it comes like this. Crease it all. This will be your M fold. I'll just trim it down a bit, it's a bit too big. Cut it back something like this. And now we add the counterfolds into all these creases. I might even make that slightly lower because we're going to have the arms that hold the hearts will be jutting up quite a lot. So I'll just take that off. Any of these creases you can have extra cuts, fold them back on themselves and back again. Push that through. So we've generated two more planes there that can have things added to them. This one, maybe we won't cut it, we'll just fold it. If you look at tutorial 22, you'll just see all the different ways that you can add counterfolds to the creases on a pop-up. Here's another one. There we go. So yeah, I'll do some on this other side as well. So we've generated quite a few more planes that can be extended. So now I'll just stick this down to the page. This is a basic acute angle V-fold. That's the heart of it all. And as the page closes, that's going to fold forward. So you want this to be up near the top of your page. And as with all these things, to make sure that the angles match, we just put the glue on one side first. Stick it down with this central crease, flush with the central crease on the base card. You can see what angle you think would suit it best. This looks pretty good to me. Then you fold it down shut, put glue on the other tab. Smear it always right up to the crease. It's glue up to the crease is the important aspect with these. The actual outer edges don't really matter so much. And now we shut the base. It finds its natural sticking position. So That's your starting point. Now you can take just these little pieces, little arms, and you can stick them out, jutting out at any angle really. So you just put them, say, like this. Like that. And you need to check it every so often as you add them, just to make sure they're not going to be clashing as the base closes. So we'll shut this and yeah, so far so good. There we go, coming out like this. You can add arms onto arms. I've actually cut all these straight, but they could be curved. But you could come out, say, like this. So you're starting to create quite a complicated, interesting sort of, almost a web, but it's just an array of arms sticking out that you can then add the hearts to. Here we go. We'll just check again, make sure that it's all folding down okay. And on. I think you get the idea without me necessarily needing to build more of these. I've got some quite big hearts here, but not really enough. I'll just put the odd one on so you can get the basic impression. So, you know, there's one there. Put one down here. Put the glue on the arms rather than on the hearts. When you're gluing, you always put the glue on the smallest surface rather than the larger one. So close it down. Yeah, it's still all working. So I think that's probably enough so you get the idea of how it works. And you can just build it up and up and up, as complicated as you like. Just keep checking that it's going to work like this and that they aren't going to clash with each other, that the arms aren't going to tangle up and snag. You can actually use this technique on all sorts of other basic mechanisms. So there's one here. This one is based on a twisting mechanism, which is tutorial 17. This bit hasn't quite worked, the card's too bendy, it should have gone like that. But what I'm really interested in here is all the different arms with a flower stuck onto the end of it. So this is an example of the twisting mechanism. When you open that up, it's got 6 planes. It's got 2 on the top here, and then it's got 2 underneath here and here. And so any of those can have arms sticking out with flowers or hearts stuck on the end. You can also make counterfolds with these. If you have an extra cut there, you can bend this down, bend it back, push that through. And so again, there you are, you've created another 2 planes. So you can do that all over it and end up creating something like this. Other mechanisms that you can use are the zigzag fold. So this is tutorial 20. Here's the zigzag fold. I've made a couple of cuts. As it stood originally, it would have been like this, and then I've added extra cuts and creases, so it's generating more planes. And you can take these little arms and you can stick them on, jutting up, jutting out, coming up at odd angles. Again, every time you add stuff, shut it down. I've got a couple sticking out here, those could be trimmed off, but you just keep adding arms to it, building up a complicated array of arms that you can then stick your hearts or flowers or stars or whatever you feel like onto. Gliding around a bit, I'm afraid. There we are. And then again, you can add to those, so you make a more complicated structure. We'll have one going back like this. Have another one coming, maybe coming down off that one there. And of course they don't have to actually be stuck on the ends. You can maybe put one here that give it a sort of T shape. And so all of these can have other hearts stuck onto them. Put one on there. And again, just close it, make sure that it's all working. I've goofed here, it's actually sticking out of the edge, but that's the thing with pop-up. You have to make dummies and experiment and just see that everything is actually fitting in within the base when you close it. But you understand the basic technique that I've used here. There's another type of mechanism. This one is based on a spread in Robert Sabuda's book, Alice in Wonderland. So this is based on the arch, lifting small 3D shapes that then they're actually rectangles stuck onto them, but they could just as easily be hearts. I'll just show you the one in Sabuda's book. This is Robert Sabuda, Alice in Wonderland, and the spread at the very end is the arch, raising these small 3D shapes, which then have the playing cards stuck all over them, creating a really amazing chaotic effect. What I've done here is a similar type of thing. It's creating a chaotic effect. They could be hearts. This is obviously a rough. When you close it, you can see they're all sticking out of the edge. I'd need to make another one with that in mind, bringing everything down to size so it stays within the base. So there isn't actually a tutorial on how to make an arch. So I'll just show you quickly how to make an arch shape so you can build the underlying structure of this one. Here's the base sheet. You're going to build basically it's a acute angle V-fold built onto that. So we'll take half a sheet, fold it in half. This is all in tutorial 2, how to make an acute angle V-fold. Fold it well. Fold it up. This is the crease side, so you're folding it up at a bit of an angle. Creasing it well, and then you cut this down to make a couple of gluing tabs. So this will be gluing up at the back of the page like this, but you want it to be an arch. So if you just cut an archway away and then stick it on randomly, you might well get it a sort of twisting shape and not a very stable shape. So you need to, first of all, you work out what angle you want the basic pop-up to be. The wider you go, the more it'll lie down, and the narrower you come on the base, the more it'll stand up. So say we'll go something like this. Now you need to mark the angle on one side where it sticks down. So I'll take a pencil here, I'll mark this angle, and then the really important thing is you also mark the end of that edge. So here's the line, here's the end of it. That's the really crucial thing. Now you can cut the arch out. So we'll just cut a piece out like this. And I'm going to, before I stick it down, I'm going to make another counterfold just in the top, so as to give it a bit more interest. I think Sabuda did that in his Alice in Wonderland example. Now here we are. This is going to stick down to the base. And so the important thing is you stick the crease against the line and you put the outside edge up against that mark, so you know it's exactly where it was when you first tested it. So I'll put the glue on one side, to the line and to that final mark, and then you can close the whole thing down, put glue on the other tab, and close the base. So here's your arch shape, which you can now build the other pieces onto. Again, as you close it, you can see this is a dummy, there's pieces sticking out. Doesn't matter, we might as well just trim those down just so they all fit within the base a bit more pleasing. So now we shut it and that's okay. Now we'll add a couple of small pieces onto it. So the easiest way, we'll just take a piece like this. The absolutely easiest way to do this is to just fold a tab onto one end, put glue on that, fold it into a loop. So you've got a loop like that and then squash that flat, fold it in half again. There we are, and fold it back on itself. Now when you open this up, you've got a square shape. And so you can stick this into that gully where the arch joins the page. And before I do that, again, I'll add a couple of small counterfolds. I'll make a cut there, bend it down, bend it back, push it through. So now that's, rather than just generating an extra 2 planes, we've generated an extra 4 planes that you can stick extra pieces on. Put glue on the whole lot. Make sure this crease goes tight into that gully. So there it is, and then we'll shut the base and press it well, so make sure that's working. If we do another similar thing on the other side. I'll show you a different way of making it this time. We'll come up at an angle in this case, so we don't want such a big piece. I'm not going to make it a complete loop. I'll just do something like this, fold it in half, fold an angled crease onto it, so it's maybe like that, and make those into a pair of tabs. This is going to be glued on like this, so it's sloping down towards the middle, or you can actually have it the other way, so it's actually sloping away from the middle. I think in this case I quite like it sloping towards the middle. As it's not a loop like this one, so you've got a crease to put into the gully, you have to measure it. So you just put it in like that, so the central crease on this piece is tight into that gully, and you just mark where one of the creases lies on the base. Just mark the ends of it so you make sure you know exactly where the piece is going to go. And now you flip it over. So I've put the crease into that gully. Now you're going to flip it over and stick it like that to the line. So I'll put some more glue on there. We just stick one side at a time this time. I've put it on that mark, glued tightly down. Close it, put glue on the other tab, smear the glue to the edge, and then close the base so it finds its natural sticking place on the arch. So there it is. And now both of these, this has created a gully here and a gully here. You could build more of these, maybe smaller or the same size into these. The same here, you could build more into this and this. If we look at this one, here it is. If you look at it end on, you can see there's a square one and there's a angled counterfold there, and the same on this. It's actually got 3 layers built into it, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then you just start sticking the pieces on and sticking them onto themselves and just build it up bit by bit. Oh, there's one other way I'll show you to stick onto here. Take a small piece like this, fold it in half. You can make a short cut and a long cut. You can fold it back on itself. So I've cut in from the creased edge. I'm folding it back like that, so the piece looks like that. Fold it back on itself again. And then when you pop that through, so we've popped that through, this is giving you a shape like this. And now this one, this is an absolutely standard counterfold. You can put the glue all the way around on both sides. Smear it well. And put this crease tight into that gully. So that's given you another 2 planes to play with. Shut it down. Make sure it all works. So then you can just start building up. You take the hearts like this and you can just stick them on, and then another one and another one and another one. So you end up with an effect like this. And that's the Shower of Hearts Valentine's card.